Hey guys, this is Huzaifa from my YouTube channel Positive Academy. Today we have a special guest. He's friend of mine, right? I knew him for very long. He used to study with me in the college time. So Sudhanva, please welcome to our show. And I'm really grateful to have you as a guest, right? And it's been
Hi.
a yeah. So before I just give introduction, let us hear from Sudhanva himself. So Sudhanva, can you please introduce yourself, who you are actually and what you do?
Right. So I am Sudhanva Lalit, and I am a postdoc at Michigan State University. So I work at a national facility in the US called Facility for Rare Isotope Beams. And I work in nuclear physics, basically. So I do nuclear structure and neutron stars, which is nuclear astrophysics, and so on and so forth. So basically, my main job is research.
Yeah, I can see that your accent has totally changed as compared to what you
Yeah,
were
I've lived
before, and
here.
now you are totally some different.
Yeah, I've lived here for over a decade, so probably I picked up the accent.
Yeah, what do you think right now currently is the advancements in science? What do you think currently is going on from
So
education
there
point
are,
of view?
it depends on which subject you pick. Like I'm not aware of most of the subjects, but as far as I understand, artificial intelligence, machine learning, they are doing pretty well. So there is something called large language models, which all of us are using, which is called ChatGPT or Cloudy AI. These are the things which are pretty much going far in artificial intelligence. If I talk about physics, especially nuclear physics, there is a big race going on discovering very large elements. So, for example, the latest element that was found was Ogadesian, which has the atomic number 118. And people are trying really hard to find new elements and see if they're stable or unstable.
Okay, so new elements are being discovered in the periodic table, right?
Yes.
And so
And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead, yes.
and every year there is like at least two or three new either elements or isomers or isotopes are discovered.
So how has been journey so far, right from your college until now, what you are currently?
So being in science is kind of a taboo in India. So doing science is considered to be something stupid. It's the exact opposite in the US. Being a
Yes,
scientist, you have the highest respect. Although in India also, people do respect you once you become a scientist at, say, for example, ISRO, or you're working with BARC or
yes.
like TIFR or other places like that. So, but if you choose science stream in India, for example, I did BSc in physics, most people basically were like, "Oh, this is stupid. Why are you doing this? You should
Yeah.
get a job, right? You should do engineering. You're really good. You should go to medicine." But because I wanted to do science, it was very difficult for me to convince people that, physics is what I want to do. And that's what I've noticed amongst most Asian families. It's not just India. If you pick Japan, Korea, China, it's the same issue everywhere. Um, but since after I graduated, I came to US and I did my PhD in nuclear physics. Things have been very different. Like I have been able to work with some of the best people in the world. So that I really enjoy what I'm doing. So I think a decision that I made about 20 years ago was probably one of the best decisions I ever made.
That's really great to hear. I mean,
Yeah.
from a person who just uh, has transformed completely, right, from the year 2009 to what I am
Yeah.
seeing in 2024.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, so what made you choose this? I mean, are you very curious, and what is the thing that you're looking for basically?
So I always loved learning, and learning is something that keeps me happy. But learning, nobody pays you for doing learning, right? And as a scientist, it's your job to learn new things so that basically, whenever you discover something new, you tell it to the people that, hey, I have found this, or I've created this, or I have done this. It doesn't matter what field you pick. As a scientist, it's a big thing.
Yes.
And that scales to industry pretty fast. But that idea of finding something new, like learning something more about something that has already been done before, or like looking at different aspects of the same things. That learning style is what I really enjoy. That's why I picked science, because I really wanted to discover things, like understand how this nature came about, what's the existence of universe, why are we who we are, right, and so on
Yes.
and so forth.
Yes, I can see. I know right from the college time or during our graduation, you were so much curious about the things, right? You always
Yeah,
try to question many things, right? And
yeah,
when we see a lot of good people, I mean, those who are just scientists, they are so much curious. So, do you think curiosity is one of the parameter which keeps them what they are just looking for?
yeah. Curious, one is curiosity, and the second one is attitude. So if you're really curious about learning new things, you will become a really good scientist. And if you have an attitude that okay, so science, when I was a kid, I thought science was, oh, doing these things and that, but science is most about failing and figuring out how to overcome your failures. So
Yes,
that requires an attitude. It
yes,
has nothing to do with curiosity. So asking a question, why is this happening this way, is curiosity. Trying
yes,
to answer that question requires attitude. So I think two things are required, not just curiosity, but you have a curiosity and the attitude to push through things when things don't go your way, and answer those questions and find the answers to that question. Once you find the answer, that's when you feel like, oh, that was amazing. I learned something great.
yes, yes.
Something like that. That's a
Like,
different feeling.
yeah, a lot of discovery when you see like invention of a bulb, and there are a lot of failures involved, right? A lot of experiments.
Yeah,
And when you
exactly.
see physics also, physics is also a kind of experiment only. You do different experiments and have some assumptions and work accordingly, right? What is the
Right. Yeah.
what do you
So
think
that's
about?
that's that's a general lifestyle. So when you look back and see, oh, Edison failed 1,000 times, yeah, that's exactly what science is. You fail 1,000 times, but you know that something cannot be done 1,000 ways. So it's not really a failure. It's more like, oh, this doesn't work, so let's try something new. This doesn't work, so let's try something new. That's how you do it. So to try something new, you need the curiosity. And to see that, oh, this doesn't work, let's try something new, that requires an attitude. Most people quit. As soon as they see something's not working, they just
Yes,
quit and they're
yes,
like, oh,
yes,
this is not for me. I will move to something else, right? But
yes.
you
Lot
cannot do
of
that
people.
as a scientist.
Yes, lot of
Yeah,
people you just told what to, they just quit in the process. They just
yeah,
think that this cup is not for me. This is not my cup
yeah,
of tea. Let us change the thing.
exactly. So to push through hardships is what I learned during my PhD.
Okay, and have you encountered any kind of failures in during this entire journey from
A
what
lot,
you are
yeah.
till now? Okay,
There
and
have
so
been a lot of
how do you
failures.
overcome it? What keep you going when you encounter any kind of failure? Because this is what I understood that it is so much important for a scientist to be aligned. I mean, to go ahead, right? We must need some motivation. But when we see failure, then we think that okay, this is not working, and so you are somewhat disappointed, and so you might lose the track. So what does keep you
Right.
going? That is what it is.
So most people work on the concept of motivation. As a scientist, what I learned from my PhD advisor is you don't need motivation, you need discipline.
Okay, yes, right.
Okay. Doesn't matter whether it's raining. Like most people I've seen grad students, when they come in, they're like, oh, it's a bad weather, I don't feel like working. Oh, I don't like doing this or this and that. Like, there are shortcomings. You're looking for external excuses to not do something, right? But if you're curious enough, you will overcome all those excuses and you'll push through it. So that requires discipline. Whether it's raining or not, it's your discipline. Every morning you have to start at 8 a.m., work until 6
Yes,
p.m., right? And that requires discipline. And in this case, there's nobody to judge you. Nobody's going to ask you a question, oh, were you working today or were you not working today? What were you doing? What were you not doing? Because scientists need that freedom to think. But my advisor added more than that. He was like, oh, you don't just need freedom to think, you also need discipline to sit and, push through things. Only then things get pushed. Otherwise, they will never get pushed.
yes, yes,
And that's true.
yes,
It has worked for me so far. So every hurdle that I ever faced, I basically was like, okay, I'm stuck here. I don't know how to do it. So I try doing it on my own for one day. If it didn't work, I will go ask somebody who knows how it works. So that's also learning. So in this case now, if somebody who is much younger than you knows the answer, you ask them the question, they answer your question, and you're done. If they don't know the answer, they'll be like, oh, I don't know the answer. Then you find somebody else who knows the answer. Then you ask them the question, they will answer your question. Not anybody can help you directly, like cannot give you a direct answer, but they will give you something, at least some idea in which you can work out. And that basically helps you go forward. If you keep working isolated, you will lose motivation. It's like going to gym alone, right? You never feel motivated to go to
Yes.
gym alone. But if you have a friend with whom you can go every single day, you will go regularly because you have a company with whom you can basically practice things. So it's something like that. So science is also like very social, where you have to meet with like-minded scientists and ask questions. They answer your questions. They ask you questions, you answer their questions, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of discussion going on a daily basis.
Right. And do you feel at some point of time saturated? Okay, means
Yeah.
I have achieved this thing, and now what is remaining in life? Everything is
No,
over and all that. It's not like
no,
nothing like that.
no.
Yes.
Um, it's the other way. The feeling is exact opposite.
Okay.
The feeling is like, oh, I have spent these many years and I have not learned enough.
Hmm.
So when I was a kid, I read something about from Isaac Newton. He said, oh, we think Isaac Newton is one of the greatest scientists because he has produced so much in his life, right? And there was this quote where he basically says, oh, I have been just a little kid exploring these pebbles on the seashore while the entire ocean of truth lied in front of me, right? That's exactly how we feel on a daily basis.
Yes.
So we never feel like, oh, my life is saturated, or because, oh, there is nothing to do in life. There's always something to do in life. The question is, are you willing to do it,
Yes.
right? And that's what differentiates us from regular people, because regular people, oh, I have a job, 9 to 5 job, I do my job, I come back home, I have nothing better to do in life. But then you can always pick a hobby and you can always do that hobby, right? Question is, are you disciplined enough to do that hobby
Yes.
and pursue it? That's the difference. That's what differs a scientist from a regular person.
Yes, I know. I mean, I've heard that you need to be mad scientist, in order to achieve any success or anything into your life. So, do you agree with this statement?
I mean, you don't have to be mad, you just need to be passionate. Like mad is a derogatory term. I wouldn't use it. You
Because
just need the passion to do it.
we require different experiments at different mode of life, right?
Yes,
And then we observe the things that, okay, this I just get it, and this is my result. And so, if I'm not getting to the point where I want to be, I can alter the thing, right?
right. That's right. But that's
So,
that's what you do. That's the part of experience of science, right?
yes. So basically, we are comparing life with science experiments, right?
Yes. Life is
Okay.
also an experiment,
Yes,
correct?
we have.
But some people get tired of it because the attitude, as I said in the beginning, right? The attitude to never give up and to push through when things go hard makes you a good scientist. You need that exact same thing even in real life. There are certain situations where you get stuck in and you don't know what to do in those situations. The only thing you can do is either wait and watch, or you can push through it and do something about it, right? Most people don't do anything about their situation, they just run away from the situation. Those who face the situation are the ones who succeed. So I find very similarities between life and science. It's the same idea.
What do you think about addiction and science? Are they related? Because when I see some scientists, they are kind of, they live in their own zone, right? And they just want to be with some attached to something, right? And then people will definitely think that, okay, this person is not a normal person. So, what are your views regarding this? For example, you can take the case of Oppenheimer himself. He was a nuclear scientist. He was in your field, and so now
Right.
there was two things regarding it. The negative side was also there, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that, being a scientist?
I mean, everybody has negative sides, right? Everybody has positive sides, everybody has negative sides. So the good always comes with the bad. I don't think there is anything wrong with having bad sides. Everybody has limitations. So I wouldn't focus on their limitations. I would focus on what they're contributing to the society more. I agree that there are some things that are done by scientists which are absolutely heinous and they should not be done. And yeah, we should not celebrate such people, is what I would say. But to get over addiction, it's like getting over alcohol addiction. How does one get over alcohol addiction? So in the US, at least they have a group called Alcoholic Anonymous, where basically a bunch of people come together to discuss their limitations and how they're fighting the addiction and so on and so forth. Like there is smoking anonymous and everything like that. So you need a support group if you want to get rid of your addiction.
Yes,
And
without it, it's not
have
possible.
exactly. And having an addiction is actually a bad thing. So even if you're addicted to science, being too much addicted is also a bad thing. You need a life. You can't just keep doing stuff all the time and then justify the wrong things by saying, oh, I'm doing this because, oh, it's science. So there has to be a limit at which you should stop. And if you cannot stop, then you need people, you need support.
Yeah, do you think how much social should be a scientist person? Because he lives in his own world, right? And so he doesn't want to get distracted from what he's doing.
Yeah, but so that is what is the general norm, but that's not true. Science does not work isolated. You have to talk to people, you have to socialize. So most people that I encounter in science, they are introverts, but they like to be with themselves. It's very difficult for them to socialize. But if you want to get anything done in life, you have to, and you're stuck, you want to ask questions. You have to get out of your shell, talk to people, right? And you have to talk to people you have never met before. So it's you need that attitude of social culture in order to do science. And nowadays, science is impossible to do on your own. You have to meet with people. So you have to be very social. Yes. If you mean by social, going out to bars and hanging out with normal people, people do that. We just don't realize them. They're amongst us. Scientists live among normal people, like normal people. People just don't realize it. This mad
Yes,
scientist or crazy scientist, Einstein has this weird hair, or he
yes.
was crazy. No, that's very rare. Most scientists are not like that.
So you spent how many years in this field?
I don't know. It has been over a decade, at least.
And now you spend almost all the time you in US, right?
Yes, I am in US. I work in the US, so yeah.
What was your different experience when it comes to the US as compared to here in
Uh,
India? How would you classify?
so I would, okay. So experience in terms of education, experience in terms of
Overall,
life.
overall.
So overall experience, I think the US experience is much better than India. But it depends, right? For example, the stress level in India is much higher when you talk about Indian institutes. Stress level is not as high in the US universities. And in the US universities, people are open to answer your questions, even if it's a stupid question, something that is very simple. That you will not find in India. Indians basically, my experience has been, oh, if you ask a stupid question, they're like, oh, this is stupid. They don't answer your question, they just judge your question.
Yes,
But that's not what you want. You want to answer that question, even if it is stupid. You think it's stupid, but the person is trying to learn. So,
yes,
that attitude is required. And I haven't seen that attitude in India.
yes. So
But
it's
other
been,
than that, it's the same, more or less.
how is the working there here as compared to here in when you were there in India?
Um, so I haven't. worked in India, so I cannot really give a comparison. But people I have worked with had said that, so I work with a lot of people who are in Indian institutes, and their experiences, the system is a bit restricted in India compared to US. It's like we have a lot of freedom to work and do our things. So that's what I can say. But other than that, I think science-wise, pretty much the same. There is no difference. So if you work at IISc Bangalore or TIFR, the same experience you get in Michigan State or Princeton. It's the exact same experience for doing science.
What do you think? Why a lot of discoveries are happening in US only and not in India? Why India is lacking in this? What is the thing?
So multiple things. I've noticed most people are not interested in pursuing science for science. They're more interested in pursuing science for publications. In the US, that is not the case. In the US, if something is challenging, they just work towards it and they want it done, even if it's very challenging. So that's why US is all about discoveries, because that's the attitude they have. In India, many people actually have that attitude. You will find a lot of people who have won Swarup Bhatnagar awards and these people. So there are scientists, but the number of scientists that you find in India is much less compared to the number of scientists in the US.
Is
So
it
that's the
funding
only
or
difference.
is it funding or freedom where we are having a problem? Because I can see that.
Both.
Okay, both.
Both. And so there's less funding in India compared to US. Um, there's less freedom because universities don't really have as much funds. And the third is, another reason is like scientists need to focus on quality as well. And producing research quality requires you to, have facilities where you can actually do research work of that quality. So that's also a thing. And science, India requires people at the top who basically fund projects or have some initiatives that can, inspire its faculty and science people to actually, look into research projects that are of utmost importance. So let me give an example. So every 7 years, there is a national nuclear long-range plan in the US, where basically they decide, oh, for the 7 years, we are going to focus on these things in science. And these are the problems that we want to solve in science. And the US government basically funds those problems and funds people who want to work on those research problems and how they achieve those problems. In India, we don't have that. Like there is no program every 7 years, or there is no, I have not seen any white papers that come out of India, which basically tell you, okay, this is what we want to do. This has been the status. This is this is the work that we want to pursue, and these are the problems we want to solve. I haven't seen them, but I have seen a lot of Indians doing good work in the US.
Yes, that's what I'm just, I mean, I'm thinking that people are moving to more to US from India, and now our talent is at somewhere we are losing the talent, right? Because
Yeah,
they just think that US is better, so let me just move. There is no
yeah.
opportunity here in India.
Uh, I mean, the salary structure in the US is pretty good. You have your freedom to do your science. The quality of problems you can do solve are pretty good. India doesn't offer any of those things. Why would somebody come back if they don't have that opportunity,
Yes.
right? And it's very easy to work with people who are top of the field in the US. It's very difficult. So if I move back to India, for example, the people that I'm working with here, because of time zone differences, it will be very difficult for us to work with these people too. And that is also a problem. You need to be physically present if you really want to get things done really fast. And in India, if you notice, like the number of people who work in a particular group or a particular research area, the number of people in an institute is very less, with the exception of probably IISc and PRL and those institutes where you at least have 3 or 4 people doing the same stuff or
Yes.
at least similar stuff. That is not the case in many universities. For example, look our MS University, Baroda, right? Nuclear physics, there were only 3 faculty,
Yes.
right? 3 faculty, of which 2 were experimentalist, 1 was theory, correct? At Michigan State, we have about 14 faculty in theory itself.
Oh, that's huge difference.
That's a big difference. And it's a university. It's not even like a, I mean, it's #1 in nuclear physics for a reason, but still, like you have so many people, it attracts talent from all parts of the world, right? If I pick a random university in India, you will not see them do it. Plus, in the US, there is a classification, like you have a research focused universities, you have teaching focused universities. In India, we don't have any such thing. Like, for example, MS University is supposed to be a research-based university, but the amount of research that comes out of MSU is not
Zero.
as much.
Yes.
Correct?
Very less.
It comes out, but it's not as much. You would
Yes.
expect really good quality research, but it depends on which department you're in, and chemistry does a good job or biochemistry does a good job, but physics on the whole, they do publish papers, but the high quality of papers is not there. So
Yes.
that is also important, right?
And mostly people have just believed when they complete the graduation and or post graduation in physics, like this person will be definitely a professor.
Yeah.
And he will be doing this thing only in his life.
Yeah.
And
That is also a misconception,
okay.
right? So in the US, when you're training for PhD, you're trained in a way that when you move to industry, you can actually contribute to industry. So that requires a training. India does not provide you that training. So for example, when we did our undergrad and masters, right? We had nothing in the summer. There was no research experience in undergrad. There was no research experience in masters. It's only in 2011, 2012 that they started 1 semester level of work for a project, thesis project.
Yes.
But it's not a full-fledged thesis project, right? They focus more on doing, oh, you need to know these subjects instead of you need to know these languages in coding, or you need to know these instruments, or you need to understand, oh, this is how this thing works. You're not nurturing the talent of the kid. You're basically dumping all the material that you have on the kid and then expect them to actually learn everything on their own. That's why majority of the students fail in India, because it's too much to do and much less time. And when the student asks questions, they basically get ridiculed for asking questions. So
Yes.
it's a negative
They will
approach.
ignore. They will mostly ignore the
Yeah.
question.
So it's a very negative approach towards education in many places. I'm not talking about places like IISc, because those places actually encourage students to do better. So there are also very places like this in India where they encourage you to do better, they encourage you to do work harder and so on. But I'm talking about general universities like MS University, for example.
Yes.
Right.
And that's why students has to suffer a lot when they're just
Yes.
maybe in this.
And you have lived through it. You already know how it was, right?
Yeah. And there were certain misconceptions, like we used to believe that these things are real, but when we progress, maybe might be in a PhD or something, we see it's not true what
That's
you have
right.
been taught.
Yeah. But
So
you have
that's
to be taught that from day one,
yes.
not in PhD, right? By the time you get into PhD, you've already learned things that you think are true, but they're not really true. So
Yes.
everything has to be taught like, oh, this is the closest we can get to the truth. This is not the ultimate truth. For example, Schrodinger equation is the closest that can come to truth, because Schrodinger equation actually gives you all these orbitals and this and stuff, right? But it is not the ultimate truth. It is still a model, and every model has its limitations, right? So if we are taught those things, then like our attitude towards doing things would be much different, right?
And that's why it is said that unlearn to learn. I have
Yes.
also experienced this kind of stuff. Like forget what you have just learned. relearn.
Yeah. So I was taught this in my first year of undergrad. So when I went to MTTS, there is a mathematics training and talent search program that happens in India, where basically they take in undergrads and they teach them mathematics. Okay. And I'm very lucky that I got to go there because I was not expecting to get selected, but I got selected. And the first thing that the professor taught us was like, uh, a good scientist is somebody who basically learns, unlearns, and relearns. And the time that it takes should be minimized. So whatever you learn today, right, you think it is true, but then if you're taught something that is better than what you've learned, then you have to unlearn what you have learned and relearn
Yes.
that new thing, because new thing is more accurate than the old thing. And you have to do it really fast. And that's what makes one a good scientist. And that has been with me forever. So it helped me grow as a physicist as well, because I learned a few things and I realized that they're not really wrong, they're limited. So, and you need to understand their limitations. Okay.
Like people are also challenging spatial theory of relativity and many other
Yes.
different concepts,
Mhm.
which are the basic things in physics.
Yes.
But still they're challenging. Okay, no, this is not what they are
Yeah.
teaching you.
Yeah, that is true. You should challenge everything you read. Like Gautam Buddha said, right? I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand, right? You have to question everything. Buddha himself said you should question everything. So question everything, including this conversation that we are having. You should question even that,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that requires an attitude. To ask questions is something which everybody should do, not just scientists, right? And our culture, India, is a place where you ask questions. If you don't ask questions, you're not really doing as a culture, you're not doing your social responsibility.
Yeah.
You should question everything.
Osho can be the best example. He used to question each and everything,
Exactly.
right from his
But
birth.
how many Oshos do we have?
No, no, hardly.
Exactly. So we need that in every citizen. We need that attitude to ask questions. Whether somebody can answer that question or no, if you don't know the answer, you just say, oh, I don't know. Maybe you should ask this person, instead of ridiculing the person and saying, oh, this is so stupid. How do you not know? Right.
Yes.
So we need that attitude. And generally, when people ask me questions and I don't know the answer, I'm like, I don't know. You should probably ask this person,
Yes,
right?
it's a frank answer,
Because
right? And no
yeah,
roundabout way directly. You just say,
no,
no, I
yeah,
don't. That is
yeah. Just say I don't know. If you don't know something, just say I don't know.
because you are not capable to know each and everything. And
That's
there are a
right.
lot of things in this universe that you didn't even know that they exist. They're
Exactly. Yeah,
having the potential.
that's right.
We are so much limited beings, yet we think that we are the masters, but we are not.
Nobody, yeah, we're not really the masters. And the more I work with famous scientists, the more I learn that even they have limitations and they know their limitations. And they overcome their limitations every single day. That's why they're at the top,
Upgrading
because they upgrade
themselves.
themselves every single day.
If you don't, then you are packing backside.
Yeah,
You're losing the
you'll
game.
get stuck. Yep. You'll be stuck and you will basically saturate. It's like, oh, if you have a plant, you have to water that plant daily, right? If you don't
Yes.
water that plant daily, it's going to die at some point. Something like that.
Yes. So if you want, you can add from your end because we have a few minutes left, and then this meeting might be. So
Okay.
first of all, I'm really grateful to have you as a guest. I was planning
Thank
this since long, and you just give me the time. It's your valuable time. I really appreciate, and you can add from your end whatever. It will be a
So
pleasure.
thank you for having me here. Before this podcast began, I had no idea what you would ask me. So I'm very happy that you asked me questions I had answers to, right? Or at least I had some viewpoint about them. My viewpoints may not be absolutely correct, may not work for everybody, but they have worked for me. So similarly, if you have a viewpoint that works for you, I mean, you should be open and, accept your viewpoint and work towards it.
Yeah,
So thank you very much.
I was also noting what kind of questions I will ask, but it's the real raw conversation that happens makes the difference, right? If you
Right,
plan the things, then it will not go that way.
right,
That's what I
exactly.
believe.
Yeah,
It's that experiment that matters. So we did
right.
this kind of experiment, and now the result will be a failure or success. It doesn't matter. But
I
we
don't
did
care.
the thing.
Yeah,
But we did the thing. That is important.
yeah. You remind me of Bhagavad Gita actually when you said, "Oh, failure or success doesn't matter." Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, right? What is that thing? Do your work, don't care about the result, right? And that's exactly what we're doing. Like we're doing that stuff. Results is not up to us.
Yeah, one thing I would definitely add, you are totally changed person, right? For what I just seen you before and now what you are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I would thank my PhD advisor mostly, and I will definitely thank the people that I'm working as a postdoc with. It's their attitude, and they are phenomenal people. But like you have to be very lucky to be able to work with such people, and that is very important,
Yes.
right? So even if you're not having people right now in your life, uh, who are not like helpful to you, you will definitely find people who will help you to achieve your dreams, and that's
Yes.
what I'm feeling, and I'm very happy. Uh, that's why probably you see a very different attitude because now I have a can do, will do attitude, right?
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
See you soon, maybe in some other.
Definitely. Take care. See you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.